Show. You want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. Good morning. Good Sunday morning. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you. It is, Memorial Day weekend already, folks. And remember that tomorrow on the holiday at 3 o'clock, there was a act put in by Congress in 2000. And it's the Moment of Silence Remembrance Act. And basically, everybody in the country at 3 o'clock, we all pause for a moment of silence to reflect on those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the country, for you and I, for me to be able to sit here and do this show. You able to call in and express your opinion and do it without fear of recourse or any kind of action against you. All right, some housekeeping, folks. This is the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. You can, of course, listen to us as you are on terrestrial radio. You can also get us on the TuneIn app, live streaming on the TuneIn app, punch in WCRN. And do me a favor, hit the like button, and that will keep it fresh for you there. And we know that you're there as well. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do it, no questions asked. You can also watch and listen on my social media platforms. So I'm streaming on Facebook and Twitter at Joe Mangi Show. That's my handle, I think they call it, right? MANGI, Joe Mangi Show. YouTube channel under the same name, The Joe Mangiacotti Show. LinkedIn page, and we're even on Twitch TV under Joe M Show, and that's a big gaming situation. Why are we on Twitch TV? I'll tell you why. I have no idea, but we're there. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. We have a text line at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Or you can email if you can't text, but you got your computer or what have you there, and you want to be able to email. If you email, text Joe on the radio. Exactly what you're doing, one word, at gmail.com. It will appear in the same screen as the text does, so we're all set, and we try to work it into the conversation. But the phone calls are the best. Also, many people, if you want to email, joemshow@gmail.com, but I'd say 80% plus probably use the Messenger app on the Facebook page, and that's perfectly fine way of doing it. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning, Joe. How are you today?
I am well. It's been a minute since the two of us were in the same room on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's usual 2-week break in between, so a lot's happened between. We've both been here at the same time, but
yeah,
it's been
actually, I think I've done the show from the other studio, my studio, with Cam more often.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes, for sure.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
But physically here today, Mike Wade at 7 o'clock, Peter Blute at 9 o'clock. I would think Jerry Doherty would still be joining us. Now, tomorrow on the holiday, you will have the great programming of WCRN. However, it will be pre-recorded and or replays. I know mine will be a replay from a week ago Friday. That's what will air tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for my Monday edition. So I hope that everybody has a fine time. According to Sherry and Vicky Graff and all those that do our weather for us, this rain is going to clean up later today, Shane, right? And then tomorrow is supposed to be nice, great cookout, boating, whatever it is that you do.
Day tomorrow.
Yeah. Just remember what time? 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, everybody. We take a pause for a moment, and we just reflect and remember what's going on. There are a lot of organizations out there that help the veterans. Do you have anyone that you either prefer or like Tunnels to Tower, The Fold, Gary Sinise? I mean, there are just a lot of organizations out there. I like Tunnel to Towers. That's on a regular basis. I do along with St. Jude Hospital, but the Gary Sinise, I've done it in the past, and I bet you he probably has a recurring option there too. But many years ago, when I first donated to him, I don't think they had that, or I didn't notice it anyway. But there are plenty of organizations. If you want to do something, go ahead and do it. Whether it's Tunnel to Towers or Gary Sinise or the Folds one. Sinise just expanded to building the homes. All right, he's got that inspiration. Actually, Silas the head of the Tunnel to Towers, who lost his brother in 9/11, went to Gary Sinise to get get some information. How do I do this, and how does this work? And he gave him a lot of help. Like, you'd be surprised, you'd only be surprised if Gary Sinise didn't help somebody, and that gave him the inspiration to say, I'd like to also build some of these homes for first responders and military people who have literally lost limbs, have paid for our freedom with arms and legs. Brain injury, too, traumatic brain injury is out there as well. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. I never know what Mike's going to talk about, but he tells me I usually take some wind out of his sails because I'll cover something he's planning to. But how can you not on some of these things? I will open the lines up for on this weekend. If you're up early on the long holiday weekend, you deserve to maybe pick something that we're going to talk about, and you're welcome to do that at 508-871-7000. Obviously, we're still watching what has happened in Uvalde's Uvalde. Let's get that straight, Joe. Uvalde's shooting at the Robb Elementary School. Now, what I said the other day on, I think, Friday's show, I'm going to reiterate this a little bit because I was a little upset going into the show because late Friday morning and going into the afternoon, we were getting different stories and things were changing. And I was a little upset at that. And then later on, once I'm off the air and I finish some business here at the station and I check out the news, I see Governor Abbott, who actually uses the words, I'm livid, because he was lied to. And what I was saying on Friday, and I'm going to maintain it now, is let's all take a breath and step back for a second, slow the roll here, and let's see what really happened. I mean, we know what happened, folks. I'm talking about, we were told things like the resource officer engaged the perpetrator outside of the building after he crashed the truck, took a shot, was injured, couldn't pursue him. That turns out to be completely false. Now we know more about the door and how it was open. And I think the best thing to do is let's stop trying to be the armchair detective here, or DA or prosecutor. And I think that now that you have the chief executive officer of Texas a little peeved, I think them stories are going to get straight. Now, it's in human nature sometimes, not sometimes, it is in human nature to rewrite history a little bit or remember things when you think that you may be in trouble. Now, adrenaline, the speed of the stuff happening, that can always affect. Now, even though eyewitness testimony is one of the cornerstones of our justice system, it's infallible. It's not infallible, I should say. It is wrought with mistakes. You can have eyewitnesses from the same location describe the same perpetrator at different heights, builds, hair color, eye color. And you hope that you get enough input that you're close enough to move on with the investigation. But we're getting contradicting stories. And what is bothering people, I think, and Shane, I don't know if you want to chime in here, is the amount of time that the children were barricaded in a room with this psycho while making 911 calls, asking to send the police now, please, and save us. And then there are gunshots. And at 11:27 or thereabouts, again, I don't even feel comfortable quoting news reports I see and articles I read because it changes shortly thereafter. Let's just say that according to the consensus here is there were multiple, like double-digit officers outside of the barricaded door. And although they were breaking windows and removing children from the school in the rooms where he wasn't, which is fine, You have a bunch of personnel showing up at this point. An actual Border Patrol officer getting his hair cut. He gets the word of what's going on. But the difference here, his wife and child are in that school. And he's getting a haircut. He's not armed, which might seem strange for Texas. Because I think a lot of people are armed even getting a haircut. So he borrows the barber's shotgun. And he heads there. And not only does he go in there, he retrieves his wife and child. And he gets them out of there. And then he goes back in and saves other children and get them out of there. So what happened will eventually come out because forensics will tell the story eventually. And it's already given us some actual facts that the door that the perpetrator came in, and we can tell from the videotape that he was outside the building for 12 minutes before he entered the building. And the door was propped open because the teacher ran out to get her cell phone. And then she came back and forgot to unprop the door. Now, I think this woman is going to live with that for the rest of her life. That simple, it means nothing at the time. Really, it doesn't. But it's going to stay with her. It's going to stay with her, and she's going to feel guilt about that till the day that she dies. So the dust will settle. We'll find out more about what's going on. And I think until we know all the facts, let's stop judging everybody, judging the police. And I think that you're going to see some heads roll. I don't think Governor Abbott is going to let that go at all, folks. Not at all. Hey, we have to take our first break here on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN. Remember, lines are open and available to you at 508-871-7000. Let me know if you have something you'd like to express and get off your chest or something you'd like to talk about. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side. I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps, thermometers, thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
Spring is in the air, and it's full speed ahead for your Worcester Red Sox. And tickets are on sale now. Enjoy unique bobbleheads, Unibag fireworks, and magical moments for your family on the field. Visit Worcester
Back in 15.
or call 508-500-8888. No worries at Fuller Park. We'll see you opening day, April 12th.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. So welcome back to the second segment of the Sunday edition. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines are open and available. So another thing here, we've got, you got to go down again, we're coming back to Texas. I'm going to leave the shooting part of it alone, but I'm telling you this. Beto O'Rourke is the biggest jamoke connected in politics today, worse than John Kerry, and that's going quite a ways here. I mean, this guy is a perpetual candidate, as we know. He married wealthy, Again, does he think he's John Kerry? He's going to follow in those footsteps. He shows up at the press conference that the governor, lieutenant governor's there, the mayor of Uvalde is there, Uvalde is there, and of course, Department of Public Safety. But the thing is, the parents whose children were just slaughtered in one of the worst possible ways you could think of. Because you have to remember, these children were barricaded in a room and watched their classmates be shot, either at random or for speaking up or trying to get help. We don't know. But the parents are in there, and this guy shows up to ask some stupid question about the governor's policy, what have you. Talk about not being able to read the room. He was trying to make this somber, horrific moment about him. Why? Are you that disconnected? Are you that self-involved? And do you really think that anybody really cares what you think? You're going to go down in flames for this gubernatorial race like you do everything. It's horrible. This is the jamoke that videotaped his dentist visit during a presidential campaign. What the heck is wrong with you, man? Now, one of the other controversies going on down there, of course, is, and it was already scheduled, was the NRA conference. And let's just get something straight here. I don't care how much the progressive or the lefts are trying to pretend the NRA is a horrible organization. We need more of the NRA in our lives, people. You know, we go back to the 50s and into the 60s. We used to have shooting in school. Rifles and NRA instructors. Kids used to bring their own rifles to school. How'd we go from actually having organized training, gun safety, and target shooting to what we have now? The guns haven't changed. What did? Culture, students, teachers, what changed? To imply that the NRA is a problem, you're just not paying attention. Let's take the shooting on the set of Rust, Alec Baldwin. I'll submit this to you. If there was an NRA instructor on that movie set, I bet you that never would have happened. But because the NRA to the left are terrorist organizations and horrible, they would never allow an NRA instructor on that set. Instead, you had some feckless newbie, industry-connected armorer who admitted she doesn't even know what she's doing, nor had a desire to do that job. But because of daddy, she got the job. And I submit to you, if you had an NRA instructor on that set, everybody on that set would know how to handle that weapon, would know what to do with it when they were handed a weapon. And there is no way in hell there would be a live round on a movie set. So as far as I'm concerned, we need more NRA. And when 9/11 happened, we didn't ban airplanes. We fortified the cockpit and locked it. And then increased the training in air marshals on flights. And what's the biggest thing about air marshals, right? You don't know who they are. They don't wear uniforms. They don't advertise. And a matter of fact, their mission is to make sure nobody knows that they are, in fact, an air marshal. They don't allow their weapon to be seen. They don't allow their credentials or badge to be seen. They act like some jamoke traveling for a business, so that at least he has the element of surprise if he needs it. So maybe we should fortify the cockpits, and that would be the schools in this place, in this scenario, and give the option, not mandated. And I know we have unions and there's logistics issues. There's logistics issues with everything. And with every proposed solution, somebody's going to poo-poo it and have some reason why we can't do it. So just put a pin in that for a moment. But think about it. You give the option to any faculty or teacher that would like to carry a firearm. And on this note, just as I got to take a side here, get rid of the banning of weapons, because did that work? And I'm not going to keep saying the kid's name, but did this perpetrator, this very disturbed 18-year-old, did he decide after posting that he's going to go shoot up an elementary school? Did he get all the way down there, saw the sign, or remembered, oh, federal ban on guns at schools? I was going to do that, and now I guess I can't. No. By definition, insane people and criminal people, laws have no effect on them. The only people, your only people that aren't carrying a gun into the school zone are the people who are legally carrying. Police officers, or get this, NRA members. People who are responsible with weapons. And if you had one or two good guys with weapons at that school, things could be very, very different today. Very different. So get rid of that asinine rule. Makes no sense. And any staff member, teacher who decides that they would like to, guess what? They go through a very rigorous NRA training course. Who else are you going to go to design, implement, and teach a school faculty teacher class, so that someone or someone's in that school, and again, we're back to the air marshal principle. Parents and people outside of the school have no idea what teachers have elected to carry. And guess what? The students will never know either. Because part of carrying, if you're a faculty or staff personnel, is no one ever knows. You don't share it, and you don't allow the weapon to be seen. And most men and women who carry a firearm that I know of, and I happen to know a lot, being an NRA member, a member of a club, and someone who's carried since age 18, you don't allow it. You don't advertise. You don't walk around with a visible weapon on your side. Well, these teachers don't do the same thing. So the kids don't even know. Students have no idea. And I would suggest that even the teachers that have elected not to carry, that they don't know either. Because if they don't know, they can't bring it up in a conversation and make a mistake. What is wrong with that? How could that possibly be anything but a good, positive movement to helping to secure the schools and protecting our children? Scott, the representative from Florida, Tim Scott, I think his name is, right? 2015, he tried to propose a pretty good anti-crime bill. And like most things, if it didn't come from the left and they're in control like they have been, they just kill it. And we know this happens. This isn't speculation. Look at even Joe Biden, when the Republicans many years ago wanted to put a black female on the bench. Joe Biden said, no, it's going to be a Democrat who does it. We're not going to allow that for a Republican to have that honor of putting someone like that on the bench. All right, 508-871-7000. What say you? Let's go to the phones. Good morning, Mark, and happy Memorial Day weekend, dear sir.
Yeah, good morning. Happy Memorial Day, and happy Memorial Day to all the veterans out there. You know, don't hear too much about them today on Memorial Day. Anyways, from what I hear on the news, I don't know if you've heard this, that this perpetrator purchased 2 AR-15 type weapons. Did you hear that?
Yes. On his 18th birthday.
On his, not one, but 2.
Yes.
And he purchased multiple rounds of ammo.
Yes. People usually do when they buy a gun. They get the ammo at the same time.
Okay. Thank you for making me aware of that. You say you know a lot about weapons. How much would 2 AR-15 type weapons and multiple rounds of it? How much would that cost?
You're pushing $4,000 between the 2 weapons. You're probably somewhere in the 32 to 30, depending on the store and everything, maybe 3,200 to 3,600. You got the missile. If this is your first time buying it, Mark, you're going to drop another $150 in ammunition. Now you also need some accessories. So I'm guessing that the kid was pushing $4,000
for everything.
Yeah.
Did he have a job?
I know, as far as I know, he kind of dropped out of school. Mark, hold on. I can't control the break. We got to take a break. We'll be back on the other side. Mark, stay on the phone. We'll continue with this, folks. Joe Mangiacotti, I'm out.
Curtain Graphics, offering a full line of apparel, including t-shirts, sweatshirts, golf shirts, caps, jackets, and other wearables to be screen printed with your organization's message, always at low wholesale prices. Curtain Graphics also offers...
Did you see the Alec Baldwin like hour-long special documentary that he had where he was one-on-one with the guy asking him questions on the set about everything that happened that day? I think it was on like 60 Minutes or like ABC. Oh, if you got to give that a watch. You definitely got to give that a watch.
The art department will help you with your next custom t-shirt project. It's great for your school.
Yeah, he said he didn't pull the trigger. He cocked it back and he let it go, and when it hit the round and it went off, and there was a lot. He had no idea there was a live round in there.
Island Curtain Graphics expert design team is,
and he just happened to be pointed right at the girl because he said they literally had him positioned and aimed the. They're like, "Why were you pointing at her?" He said, "They're telling me and directing me as a crew to point in this direction, and it just happens to be right over the shoulder of the guy holding the camera."
To use the best. AA Transportation, the largest limousine service in central Massachusetts, specializing in world-class service with a personal touch. Drivers in formal attire provide detail-oriented service to make sure that every aspect of your wedding experience is perfect. AA Transportation is happy to work with your other wedding vendors, such as caterers and photographers, to get you the best results and experience possible. With a variety of sleek and comfortable limousines to choose from, AA can transport bridal parties from 2 to 20, plus provide shuttle service for your guests. For signature red carpet service, call AA Limousine in Shrewsbury, 508-791-9100, serving all of New England. AATransportation.com. Call 508-791-9100. Let's help make your wedding day special.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. So welcome back to the second half of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and we are live streaming on the TuneIn app as well as my social media platforms and Facebook and Twitter, YouTube. You'll be able to figure it out. It's all posted right there on the post anyway, so you can figure it out from there. 508-871-7000. Mark was with us before the break, and to catch our listeners up, he's asking, yes, this this perpetrator on his 18th birthday. As far as I know, he kind of dropped out of school. He was someone who tended to wear mascara and dress a little weird. He was bullied a lot, and this, I guess, contributed to him deciding not to go to school. On his 18th birthday, again, I'm basing this on multiple types of reports, and why I was so frustrated on Friday, folks, is because almost everything we had been told was getting turned around on Friday. But my understanding is on the 18th birthday, he went and he bought a couple AR-15s. Now, I don't know the model or whatever. On the high end of it, you're talking around maybe $1,200 for it. Now, you can find an AR-15 in the $800 range if it's stripped down a little bit, and depending on who's it made by and that kind of thing, because there are weapons that are exactly like that, but it's not called the AR-15 because it's maybe made from a different manufacturer, like Ruger makes an AR-556, or M&P Sport makes one. So you're talking absolute cheapest 800, but if you're going to go buy one, you're probably looking at $1,200. So you figure he's 24 there, and then you've got to add the ammunition, you've got to add straps and gun cases. You're well over 3,000. So the point is, he spent a lot of money on his 18th birthday, and as far as I know, I've seen no mention of a job mark, none whatsoever. I don't know if the kid has been saving money. I don't know where it came from, but he had it. He went to a gun store. He bought 2 weapons on his 18th birthday, which were perfectly legal to do, because at 18, if you have an FID card, you can buy a rifle. You can't buy a handgun until you're 21. That's federal law. But you can buy a handgun in a private sale. So if Shane has a Glock or 9mm or Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 380, and he wants to sell it to me, and I'm 19, 20 years old, he can do it. We fill out the blue card. They call it as a shorthand. It's literally a blue card, federal form. You fill it out, you send it in, and it just lets the government know that we've transferred the ownership of that gun from Shane to me in a private sale. But if I want to go into a licensed gun dealer, a store, I have to be 21. And I have to pass the background check. And one of the problems that we have with these young perpetrators is a lot of times their juvenile record is sealed if there was an incident, but they haven't got caught. They haven't lived long enough to do something that's on the radar screen, right? So it doesn't get caught. But there's also many cases where the background check is only as good as the reporting agencies involved. And if the local agencies don't know that this person has been under psychiatric care, or sees a psychologist, or has been hospitalized for attempted suicide, you see where I'm going with this? So if that information isn't conveyed and they don't know it, that 1440 form or whatever they fill out there it's going to pass. So there's the point on this, Mark, is that there are cracks in the whole system, and how do we seal those cracks? So go ahead. What was it that you wanted to make with the point on this?
So getting back to the purchase price, what did you estimate it to be for the 2?
Well, just for the stripped down gun, just for the 2 stripped down guns, you're probably in the $2,400 range. But when you start adding the ammunition, the gun bags, the straps, tax, you're over $3,000, I would think.
Where the hell did he get that kind of money?
I would like to know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Has he saved his birthday money? I think it's a good
question. Where did he get that kind of money?
I
don't have that kind of money. Where did he get it?
I don't know. For all I know, that could have had something with shooting grandma in the face. Maybe maybe it was about money. I don't know. These are things we don't know, Mark. But people are asking, and you got a pretty upset governor down there who is livid that he was lied to, and the facts of the case, the way he was briefed, weren't really the facts of the case, and I don't blame him for being pissed off. And I think,
I'll end with this.
Yeah.
I'll end with this. I'm a supporter of the police. You know that, talking to me for many years.
absolutely.
But if they screw up, and it looks like they screwed up on more than one level, they're not above criticism.
No, and they're not above the law.
Have a good one, brother.
Thank you, Mark. All right. I always appreciate the call from Mark, 508-871-7000. What say you? If you'd like to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. So it's a good question he raises. But in the big picture of things, I mean, he's 18 years old. I don't know if he saved his birthday money since he was 5. I don't know if he knew where there was a stash of cash. I don't know if the kid mowed lawns. Who knows? I don't know what the answer to that is. But he did go in to a store and he bought 2 rifles, all perfectly legal. All perfectly legal. And the gun laws that are there meant nothing to him about not carrying, federal ban on carrying a weapon into a school zone. All of those, it doesn't matter. Plus, murdering people happens to be against the law. So criminals, by definition, don't follow the law. But that case in Texas, like other cases we've had, was just loaded with red flags. By all reports, this guy, this kid, this POS was actually self-harming himself, carving his face for the fun of it. I mean, that's a cry for help. It's a cry for attention. And no one seemed to be listening. As a matter of fact, they were bullying him at school, which is why he didn't go there. 508-871-7000. Let's go to Jack, who's actually on the road. Jack, where are you driving?
I am driving to New York from southeastern.
Wow. Okay, New York. Connected to the holiday, or?
I'm sorry?
Because of the holiday? Are you going to family or something?
I came up to visit. We had a little golf trip with some buddies.
Nice. Okay.
My point, and I'm a police officer, and if this happened as it occurred, as it's being reported, it's astonishing. We've been trained I'm in my 22nd year, since at least my 20th year since Columbine. We've been trained. Initially, we were told you wait for SWAT team. Then we were told as soon as there's 4 of you, you make a diamond pattern and you go in. Now it's down to, if you're there by yourself, you go in, you lay down your life for these children. So I'm a little skeptical of the initial reports. I know this is a very rural community. I understand resources came from 80 miles away.
Yep.
So I think we need to get all the facts. But if it did happen that anybody waited even a few minutes to go in when kids could have been bleeding out, it's inexcusable and people should be jailed. But one thing I wanted to mention to you, and you're right on the button with the 18-year-olds just haven't had time to have crimes that were documented, is the mental health aspect. We have, at least in my state and probably in yours, many people who want to raise the age when it comes to prosecuting 16-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, where they shouldn't be accountable for anything. Records should be sealed. And then people say we need background checks. Well, it doesn't work if there's nothing to check.
Exactly.
Because the other thing is with mental health, I could just tell you in my field, there's an awful lot of police officers that, like any other profession, we go through things in our private and our work lives. Anything from a divorce to a shooting. And lots of people would be reluctant to seek out mental health because of the ramifications. Hey, if you go to the Department of Shrink, they're going to take your guns. And now you have a situation where people may say, hey, I'm not going to go get mental health because I want to go hunting. And that's an extreme case, but there's always an unintended consequence. And in the aftermath of a tragedy like this, people scream and yell and they want action, but we have to remember what can happen that we don't think can happen initially.
Jack, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the point, the stigma around mental health. And that is going to delay. And like you said, especially if you're a peace officer and the first moment you show any stress or a problem, right, over cautiousness, right, they're going to bench you, right, or put you on a desk job, take your weapon away, and that has got to be a real fear. And first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for doing a job that most of us would not only wouldn't do but couldn't do. And I want to go back because I talked about this the other day on the show, is how it changed from okay, active shooter, you wait for SWAT and TAC to get there, and you come up with a plan, and it's gone through some phases, and now, and we find this out in Texas from the governor, the policy, and I'm assuming this is it across the board, right? You run towards the gunfire. If there's gunfire, and in this case, especially if you're talking about elementary school kids, you run, whether you're alone or you have someone else or not. And we know that some did it, right? The Border Patrol guy getting a haircut with his wife and child in the school. Nothing was going to stop that guy.
Well, these are national standards, and yes. Now, the thing that kind of confused people, I think, is some of the training was, okay, you've got an active shooter, you're going to go in, you're going to lay down your life for the kids. That's the deal you made. Now, the tricky part is, okay, now the shooting stopped. Now the killing is stopped. Do we surround? Do we wait? Now, you've got to consider that might have been the theory as soon as 3 or 5 years ago. If there's people bleeding out, you can't surround and wait. And not, SWAT teams in most of the country, we're not talking about Boston or New York City or big cities with an on-call SWAT team. This is Uvalde, Texas.
Yeah.
And even if they had a SWAT team, it's probably comprised of people who have to come in from home. It's probably more of a, hey, we're going to take down this crack house next Wednesday. Be here at 5 a.m. for a briefing.
Yeah.
It's not something that, at best case scenario, you're looking at 90 minutes to assemble, prep, and be on scene. So it's up to the initial officers. And you've got to get in soon. I would think that something happened. I can't imagine that there was, even if there was one cop like in Florida who didn't go in, the other cops would have said, hey, the heck with this, we're going in.
Yeah.
No, 45 seconds.
They're handcuffing parents.
No, Jack, let me ask you, because I'm up against the clock, is,
Yep.
the question I have, or what seems to be confused, is whether or not the information was getting conveyed. In other words, you had 7-year-old, 8-year-olds, and you had that 10-year-old girl on 911 who ultimately was shot and murdered there. Was that information, my question is, getting to the command or incident officer?
20.
So the thing when people watch TV is they think everyone's on one channel, one frequency, we all talk to each other. This was probably a cluster.
Jack, I got to hold. You're welcome to stay on the line, but it's an automated system. I have to break, folks. We'll come back on the other side for the fourth and final segment. Again, Jack, you're welcome to stay. Back in a moment, folks. Stick with us.
You just may have the best podcast anywhere.
Blah, 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 blah.
But who knows it exists? Hello? Get your podcast to broadcast on radio. Create a podcast. Improve your podcast sound with professional production and editing. Record your podcast in a real radio studio. Visit podcasttobroadcast.org today. Get your podcast on the radio with podcasttobroadcast.org.
Gordon Lightfoot, live, the legend in concert.
You could read my mind, love.
October 19th at the Hanover Theater. A night of hit after hit after hit. Get tickets now at thehanovertheater.org or call 877-571-SHOW. Gordon Lightfoot, the legend in concert.
93% of adults listen to the radio each week. Of those exposed to radio ads, over half made a purchase. Despite how often the media reports on newer forms of advertising, it is, in fact, free broadcast radio that most effectively reaches and truly influences customers. Radio allows you to place your company's message directly to the radio audience for 30 or 60 seconds, and it's a gold mine. Radio advertisements are more memorable compared to written and visual ads. It's just this simple. Sound is stored more effectively inside memories. Reach over
back in 15, and looks like Jack held through the break.
With your radio message on WCRN Full Service Radio. Call station manager Chris Thompson at 508-870-5803, extension 222, or visit WCRNradio.com.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show. You want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, 508-871-7000, to join the conversation. We were talking with Jack on the road, who's a police officer. Jack, you said, what, 22 years?
I'm in my 22nd.
22nd year. Can you say what state you're in?
Yeah, I'm in New York State.
All right.
Not New York City.
Okay. And so that's the question I had about this, whether that was getting, and you're right? You got to deal with the TV thing, right? Everybody watches and they think that all this happens, and God knows there's multiple channels for everything that there is. But my question was, watching all of this, come out, and these kids, because everybody has a phone, doesn't matter, they're 7 or 8 years old, and they're on with 911 and they're asking, please send the police, please save us now. And that intelligence, is it making it back to them? And if the officers in that hallway, and from what we understand, there were several, not 2 or 3, but like 12, 15 officers in that hallway, and they're hearing the gunshots, and when there's a break in it, how do you handle that? How do you make the decision of busting in there? Do you, there's got to be windows in the room by law, I believe. So do you, shoot in with canisters and stun, including the kids, but at least you stun him? Or are you going to risk him wiping out everybody who's still alive? What's the tactical response to that?
Sure, if you're the Boston Police Department SWAT team and you've got this special equipment, but the average patrol officer, if he's lucky, has a AR-15 rifle, maybe a shotgun to breach a door. In a situation like this, the likelihood of a local PD and a federal agency being on the same radio channel is extremely remote. Maybe they have a shared channel you could switch to that works well when you do a drill on the third Sunday in June. But in the fog of war, as they say, I would bet they were thinking, hey, who's in charge? Who's in command? One other thing nobody realizes is as soon as one shot goes off inside a building, you're not hearing a thing on the radio. Your ears are gone. Every time I've ever fired the AR-15, I have earmuffs on at the range. One time I forgot my earmuffs, and I was done for about 30 minutes. You can't hear a thing. It's so loud. Now do that inside a building. So the communications are out the window. It's up to you. You have to go in. Now, as far as these parents being handcuffed and now, I would assume what happened is somebody got in there, realized that these children were dead. They were beyond resuscitation. And then the parents wanted to go in and they said, you cannot. This is now a crime scene. Have this kid live. We want to prosecute him, and you wouldn't want it thrown out because some parents went in and contaminated the crime scene.
Yeah.
I can't imagine any cop being so heartless as to say, no, you can't go in and save a child that's able to be saved. There's just too much. There's just a lot of information. I think in the end, when they do the reports, a lot of this is going to be explained. It's going to be very sorrowful. But I can't imagine it's as bad as it sounds right now. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I get it, and this is why I was very frustrated on the last show I did, which was Friday, Jack, and that was obviously you're in New York. I doubt you've heard this show before you're driving today, but I was so frustrated by the time I came on the air on Friday afternoon at 1:00 because everything that we had been told was basically reversed or wasn't true. And then I saw the governor's conference later, Governor Abbott, that is, and he was beyond livid because what he was told is how he reacted to things and what he told parents. And so I'm saying, everybody take a step back, slow the roll here, let them do their thing and really investigate. And if you messed up, and you tell me how you feel in this, if you're a police officer and you responded, I don't care what level you're at, deputy, constable, federal, and things didn't happen the way they could have or would have been best, but if you lie about what happened and what you did, I don't have any sympathy or excuse for that. I'm sorry. You can't lie to your superior in that case. They got to know what happened, and take your chances and take your medicine if you have to.
Yeah, of course. We all hope, whether you're in a foxhole in Vietnam or just running into a school, you hope that when your time comes, you stand up and act the way you're trained and you have the bravery. But you never know. You can't predict who will be the coward, who will be afraid and withdraw, and who will stand up and be hero. And you can't always predict who will do it.
Absolutely not.
It's not the person you think. It's not the big 6'4" guy, macho guy who's going to run in. It might be the little tiny woman officer who goes in and saves the day. And you never know, and I hope to never find out how I'd react.
Yeah.
All cops feel that way.
Absolutely. I know I'm the son of a police officer. I grew up in that atmosphere. We knew when Dad went to work, it could be the last time we saw him. And he had told us many a times, unfortunately, he didn't get his wish. And his wish was that he would never, ever had to have drawn his weapon in the line of duty. Unfortunately for him, it didn't happen that way. He had to on multiple occasions in his career. But I know most police officers consider it a good career if they've never had to do that.
No, I've never drawn my weapon except to dispatch a wounded animal, and I hope that's what happens.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's changed is I know in my school district, we cover a couple of school districts where I work. We wanted to put locks on the doors, so if there was a shooting, the teacher could lock the door and keep an assailant out of her classroom. And you know where we got resistance? From the state fire marshal, who said a lock on a school door is a fire hazard. Now, there hasn't been a death in America from a fire in a school since 1958, a fire in Chicago, famous fire called the Our Lady of the Angels fire, where I don't know how many kids died, maybe 20 or 25 or maybe more. But that was the kind of resistance you had. Now, there's been a sea change in attitude here, with hardening and single points of entry. But I'm going to tell you, if you talk to any school principal or any cops and ask them how often do they get threats at their school, I think you'd be surprised how often it is. Now, most of them are explained away. Hey, I was joking. Hey, I had a bad day. And listen, what are you going to do with these kids? You have to let them back to school. So now when people say, well, why didn't anyone listen to the signs? Listen, there's 1,000 kids a month that do these kind of threats. And if you were to remove them from school, then people would be screaming that that's not fair. So I don't know the answers. It's a terrible situation. My heart bleeds for these.
Exactly, Jack. I think this is an incident that is actually going to hopefully change some attitudes, soften some of the resistance. But I agree 100%. These schools are soft targets. They need to be hardened. And I don't know if you heard earlier in the show, I really think that the option for a staff member or a teacher to carry while on duty at work is an option for them. And they go through, and I say, let the NRA do the course, right? And stop demonizing the NRA. We need more NRA in our lives than we have now. And if we did that and got rid of the federal ban on firearms, obviously criminals don't pay attention to that, Jack. That's the definition of a criminal. Now you don't know. And if you're the bad guy and you have no idea if or how many teachers and faculty are armed and trained, you're going to think twice about it. And I can tell you that the teachers union is no friend of this policy. They don't even want. Now I'm talking about the American Federation, national organization with Randy Weingartner, who's the president, and at least in New York, the New York State Unified Teachers Association lobbied hard to have school resource officers removed from schools. They felt that they look at the police as a unnecessary evil and one of these school to prison 100%
nonsense.
Right, and it triggers them if they have a gun.
Yes,
I got it.
It's a prison, not a learning exam. So I don't know that I want to arm teachers. It is weird though that if you are a teacher and you are licensed to carry a firearm, you can't bring it into school. I think there's plenty of retired cops who would be happy to have a second job at a school, 1 or 2 per school. Even if you have a school resource officer, if you're in a district lucky enough to have a school resource officer, they're probably at the high school, maybe the middle school. They're not at the grammar schools.
No.
And just having, even where I live, we have retired cops working as security guards. The district will not allow them to carry their guns. Even though they carried them for 25, 30 years as a police officer without an incident, they cannot carry them at the school. So there needs to be a mindset change.
Jack, thank you for the call, but I got to hold you there.
You.
We got other lines, and I really appreciate it. And have a safe trip back to New York. All right, folks, 508-871-7000. We got a little, I was about to go to Ken. Ken, I don't know if you didn't think we had time. We do. If you want to give a call back real quick, we can get you in here this morning. And of course, Mike I think Mike is joining us at 7 o'clock. We'll be in here for Conservatively Speaking, Peter Blute at 9 o'clock. And then we go from there. So just one other thing. I want to go back to this Beto O'Rourke's, and the fact that he goes by Beto. I mean, that's also a joke in itself. Isn't that cultural appropriation? I mean, he's about as Spanish or Mexican as Teddy is. Oh, actually, Teddy's a Chihuahua, so maybe that's not a good example. So he tweets out, Governor Abbott, if you have any decency, you will immediately withdraw from this weekend's NRA convention and urge them to hold it anywhere but Texas. Why, Beto? Why? Give me a reason why, other than you're just trying to draw more attention to yourself, right? I actually responded to that, and I don't usually do that, but he just aggravated me so much. And I asked him that why. He can't possibly be that ignorant. The NRA is about gun safety, proper handling, storage, use, right? That we used to teach rifle shooting in school at one time. And we need a hell of a lot more NRA and a lot less of gold digging clueless opportunists like him. It's absolutely ridiculous that they go after the NRA in the way that they do. And, and yes, when I brought up about arming teachers, Jack, the caller made a good point. The resistance is going to come from the unions. Like he said, man, they don't even want police officers on school property armed. And because it's going to trigger, and my question is, trigger what exactly? Because if you have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're triggered by a police officer with a weapon, that's taught. Right? And a 9-year-old doesn't come to a conclusion on their own. Somebody has instilled the fear into them and has told them that you can't trust a police officer.
1 minute.
That the police officer's the bad guy and that the weapon is bad. And I maintain what we should be teaching our young children is weapons are a tool like everything else, and they demand a tremendous amount of respect, and that you will show it. And there's actually an organization, and I don't have
25
into it because I got to wrap up the Joe Mangiacotti Sunday edition right here for Sunday, you guys. And Peter, Mike weighs up
15.
Conservatively speaking. Tomorrow's show will be a replay. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side. Joe Mangiacotti out.